All right, well, welcome everyone. My name is Sarah Glenn, and I'm the Director of the Center for Career Development within the Chambers College of Business. And I'm joined by my colleague, Ashley Lesnick, who's the Assistant Director in the Center, as well as a panel of guests, many of whom are alumni, some are just representatives from some of our major employer partners who are really excited to engage with you all this evening, help you get a better handle on what careers in sales and marketing might entail. So how it's going to work, we're going to kick off the panel, going to have everyone introduce themselves, their name, their company, their title, just a little bit of an overview of what their job is on a day-to-day basis, and then their favorite thing about their role, just to kind of get the conversation started. And Ashley and I are going to facilitate Q&A throughout the event. We really want you all to engage in the chat, so we'll be monitoring the chat. Some of our panelists might respond to you one-on-one. So go ahead, post your questions in the chat. We're going to be pausing throughout the session just to see if you all have any questions. So really, this is your opportunity to get some really interesting information out of these panelists. So please speak up and participate and help steer the conversation toward what you all really want to know as you're embarking on your internship and full-time job journey. So with that, the first panelist I see is Andrea from FedEx. So we'll start with her.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for having me. My name is Andrea Rainey, and I am a district sales manager in the Ohio area. My team covers Cincinnati all the way up to Bucyrus, Ohio, and I have a lot of peers that cover Pittsburgh, which Beth is on the call here, and we work for FedEx, and we are in the sales department. And I think, Sarah, you had mentioned that one of my favorite things with working in my role at FedEx is I get to coach a team of sales professionals. And the biggest reward of our job is we get to go into small and medium-sized businesses and learn how they are starting their business and help them grow into these larger organizations. And that's probably my favorite thing, is just learning the different industries that are out there and how we can help and partner with them.
Marissa?
Hi, I'm Marissa DiLoretto. I work for Ethicon, which is a medical device company under Johnson & Johnson. So I'm in medical device sales. I apologize, I'm still in my script, which is a good segue to a little bit about my job. I was stuck at an emergency gallbladder removal, and I made it in the nick of time. So my favorite thing about my job is things like that. It's super fast-paced, unpredictable. I came from a role where I was working from home and I wanted something more exciting, and I certainly got it. So
Awesome. Beth? You're still muted. Oh. It's still quiet. We can, while you're working on that, we can hop over to Clayton if you want, while you're getting your sound worked out.
Hi, everyone. My name is Clayton Quintanar. I'm a WB alumni, graduated in December 2019. It's good to see everyone on the call. I work for a company called Stanley Black & Decker. We're a tools manufacturer here in the US with headquarters in Baltimore. My current title is an associate e-commerce strategy manager. And something I love about my job is that it's constantly changing. Every day is something new, whether it's a new account popping up or a new issue that needs to be fire drilled. So yeah.
And Maria?
All right. Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me. Similar to Clayton, I work for Stanley Black & Decker, and I'm also a WVU alumni as well. I am currently in a title, my position is an associate brand manager. And what we do is we kind of oversee some of the creative projects, things like packaging creation, video creation, a lot of the artwork that you see on social media. We're kind of the managers of all of that creative content that you see go live. One of my favorite things I think about this job is, other than the people, it's seeing that finished product come to life, whether it's a package sitting on a shelf in a store or some video content that goes live on an Amazon page or on our social media.
Beth, do you want to try that again? She popped out.
I think she was logging off and trying to log back in.
All right. Courtney?
Hi, everyone. My name's Courtney Cox, and I am not a WVU alum, but I do work for Stanley Black & Decker with Maria and Clayton. So I am the Northeast recruiter for the Sales and Marketing Development Program. So it's an early career program, so we have internships and full-time positions available within our department. So we can't wait to discuss that with you all. And my favorite part of the job is just how supportive and flexible the overall work culture is with Stanley Black & Decker. Everyone's always willing to help, no matter what department they're from. And I love how close knit everybody is. So I've only been with the company for a little over a month now, but it's so neat how like even meeting Clayton and Maria on the job, and I can casually name drop anybody. And I bet Clayton and Maria would know them because everybody's so close knit with each other.
And Mari, you want to do a quick introduction?
Yes, thank you. I apologize for being tardy. You might see I got a black eye. I had eye surgery 2 weeks ago. This thing's kind of thrown me for a loop and I'm playing catch up a lot. I'm with American Cast Iron Pipe. We manufacture, and Sarah, I presume a corporate and personal introduction. Try to keep it to 2 minutes maybe. Okay.
That sounds great. Yes.
Yeah, we manufacture ductile iron pipe and spiral welded steel pipe, and it's used in the water industry. We also make fire hydrants. You've got our fire hydrants on your campus there. If you look toward the ground on those hydrants, you'll see a A, and instead of a crossbar to make the A, it's got a little round circle. That's our American Darling hydrant made in Beaumont, Texas. We got operations in 6 states. We sell about $1.5 billion a year. We've been doing this now for well over a century. We're owned by a trust, and the employees are the beneficiaries of the trust, not unlike the Hershey Trust in Hershey, Pennsylvania, not too far from y'all. There are 3 manufacturers in this space in the United States. I would, I think, accurately say that we're the leader with respect to quality and sales expertise. We've got a sales force for the pipe group that I'm a part of. I run the marketing department. Part of that responsibility includes recruiting and training. And we've got a valve and hydrant group that handles the valve and hydrant space. We may have a valve and hydrant person in this call today, Sarah. I'm not quite certain. I honestly just got caught up here about 20 minutes ago on my way to my home office. I've been with the company 39 years. I know y'all think that can't be right, but yeah, it is. I joined right out of college, and that was 39 years ago. I've worked in our New York office, our Florida office, our California office, our Dallas office, and I came back here to headquarters 24 years ago now, not far from my home, not far from my university. I'm on the engineering council at Auburn. I chair Alabama Steel Council. I'm a member of the state of Alabama Engineering Hall of Fame board. A lot of my marketing responsibilities include getting engaged in the community and building corporate relationships that way. Our company cares about each other. As one of the other panelists mentioned, when you go through something like this eye surgery, when you lose a parent, when a spouse gets ill, when a child is ill, the people here at our company rally around you and support you. We are very much a family. All our products are made with recycled iron and steel. I think that's very important. We are exceptionally sustainable. We were a sustainable product before sustainability was cool. And our product is used to convey, to purify and convey pure water. And clean water is the greatest advancement in public health in the history of the world. And quite frankly, the fact that we are a sustainable, environmentally friendly product supplying pure, clean water that promotes public health and fire hydrants that promote public safety, I find fulfilling and gratifying.
What an intro for popping in late. Good job. All right, I think we have Beth from FedEx. I think she popped back in. That's okay. Maybe you could, as students are posting questions in the chat, you could engage with them there. We make sure we get your advice out there to students. Awesome. All right. To kick it off, we're going to ask a question to the panelists, and for all of you panelists, feel free if you want to pop in and answer, you can just unmute yourself. You can skip if you feel like one of your coworkers kind of addressed the question adequately. So you definitely don't have to answer everything, but feel free to pop in as you want. So the first question we want to pose to you all are, what are some of the internship and entry-level positions that your organizations hire that are a good fit for our sales and management marketing students within the college? And then talk a little bit about not only the program and what they might expect, but really what are you looking for in a candidate? What kind of skills or experiences should our students start to gain while they're in school to make them a competitive person? It can be soft skills, but it also could be technical skills. It could be Salesforce, things like that. So whoever wants to start, feel free to pop in.
I guess.
I'll start.
Oh, go ahead.
So at FedEx, so a little bit of background with me at FedEx. I've moved quite a bit with the company. So I'm in Ohio now, but previously I was in Memphis, which is where our headquarter location is. And when you talk about marketing, there's a lot of internship opportunities within our marketing department there. We have marketing and solutions, and they really work hand in hand with each other. The thing that I would say, and I'm not super familiar with the marketing solution side of things, but the thing that I do know that they do is they have a kind of a cycle program within their internship with the marketing department where you will be on a team in marketing for a certain amount of time, and then you'll rotate and you'll be with another team and then you'll rotate. And what that allows to happen is your skill set really starts to, flourish and what you're good at and what area you're good at. And then you also get the experience to see what department you want to be in, and then start networking with the managers in that group. So we have an internship program like that within our marketing solutions department in Memphis. And then as far as sales, we have entry level, we have 4 inside sales offices. We have one in Memphis, one in Pittsburgh, one in Phoenix, and one in Dallas. And you start there and you start in a position where you really learn all of our services, because we're a service company, we provide a service. So you learn the services, you learn all of our tools, you learn how our operations work, and then you get placed on teams within our inside sales team. And then as far as career path for sales, you can go to field sales, and then we have corporate worldwide sales, and then management. And FedEx, I say it's a huge global company, but it's a small high school, because FedEx is the easiest company to network with anybody once you are in FedEx. You can, if there is a department that you are interested in, it is so easy to find a manager or a director or a VP and get on their calendar and start mentoring it under them. And so any field that you have interest in, there's plenty of opportunity to get there. So that's just a little bit about the marketing side, and then also the sales side as far as entry-level positions.
All right, Clayton.
Cool. Thanks. Sorry to interrupt you, Andrea. So yeah, actually, we have 2 routes with both the internship program. We do have a sales internship program, which is in some of our larger cities like Pittsburgh or Baltimore. And that kind of leads to a role that's what I did actually after graduating from West Virginia, called the SMDP. So that's the Sales and Marketing Development Program, where you're then relocated to a city. I got like lucky enough to move here to New York, where I'm currently am, where I got a truck, I got a phone, I got a laptop, and I was able to do basically field sales every day, which was cool. It's something that like gave me a lot of opportunities. I got to meet some of my closest friends now through the program, so that's always fun. But you know, you mentioned some things we like look for in candidates that are like kind of soft skills. Definitely self-motivation and adaptability. You know, in college, it's really easy to like not be able to roll out of bed and then, you know, miss the class. But when you're out in the fields, when you're out in the field and you're working, you have to have that self-motivation to wake up and go, you know, especially where you're working kind of remotely, where your team isn't reporting to an office and that you go days without seeing some of your team members. You kind of have to wake up and, you know, get that motivation from within to, you know, get you out into the field. Maria or Courtney, did you guys have anything on that?
Yeah, I was just going to add something unique about our development program is it is a total of about 2 to 3 years. And so you're in each role for about 12 to 18 months. And it is performance based as well. So you start off in that sales role for 12 to 18 months, and then you're eligible for a promotion into the marketing field, which has 5 or 6 different tracks that you could choose from. So you could go into more of branding, product development, maybe even be a market manager where you get to supervise others that are in their first year. So it's really neat to say, you know, 2 years out of college that you're already supervising somebody at that point, or that you're already helping develop new features or modifying features on our tools 2 years out of college in those fields.
Yeah, and just to piggyback off of both Clayton and Courtney, right after I graduated, I was a part of the sales and marketing development program, and was fortunate enough to not move too far. Right to Pittsburgh was my territory. So I was in that program for about 2 years, and then I moved on to the current brand role that I'm in. So the sales and marketing development program was a great first job right out of college. And then that kind of leads you down a path of you can kind of grow from there and choose if you want to go into brand or if you want to go into a product management role or something else within the business.
I can go next here for as far as internships go so I work for, like I said, I work for Ethicon, which is under Johnson & Johnson. There's many companies obviously under Johnson & Johnson. So I'm speaking on behalf of Ethicon, which like I said is medical device. We do like staplers, sutures, etc. As far as internships go, not so much. However, I was talking to one of my coworkers who actually sits on a developmental committee. Sarah, I'm going to get you guys in touch because she said that they want to get some college candidates. There's a role that's internal for right out of college, and then it's kind of like a slope where you'll eventually end up getting out in the field. So it's a pretty cool role. You get to really know the products really well. I, being where I'm at, think that it would have been a huge advantage to have started that way. So I will be in touch with you in regards to that.
Would you mind adding some context to people who might be wondering why you were in a gallbladder surgery? I think some of our students might not quite understand the complexities of the medical device sales field.
Absolutely, yeah. So medical device sales, like I said, I work for Ethicon, who does staplers, sutures. There's like cut things that they use to cut in surgery. They're called energy devices, hemostatic products, which stop a bleed. So basically I sell those devices to hospitals, to doctors. So my role is being in surgery every day and sitting with the doctor. For example, today the doctor was using a new hemostatic product to stop the bleed when he took the gallbladder out. So I had to be in there to tell him, you know, which product do you think would be the best for this case? I mean, ultimately they make the decision, they're the doctor, but we are there to support the cases. And that's why I was in a gallbladder and a hernia today.
Very good, thank you. Yeah, Mari?
Sure, thank you. we would have an interest in someone with extensive knowledge about Salesforce. We have adopted that a few years ago. It needs to be better embraced. It needs to be better utilized. There's just a lot of horsepower in Salesforce that we're probably not taking advantage of. You will understand that salespeople really don't like administrative matters. And to get salespeople to use these administrative tools can be a challenge. So that's one opportunity. Another is that we are developing an online learning platform. We want to create a curriculum to educate underground water utility consulting engineers how to specify and design projects with our products. You graduate from West Virginia, you graduate from Auburn with a civil engineering degree. You don't know anything about pipe design. You've just got the fundamentals of engineering. And then you go to work for a bridge company, a highway company, a railroad company, or a pipe company, and they teach you the specifics about that field. And our thought is, if we can provide a curriculum that teaches new young engineering graduates how to design projects with our products, then we are framing their education in the manner in which we want them to be educated, so that they understand the strengths and the benefits of our products in comparison to the shortcomings of other types of pipe. And we think we can charge for this. I'm in 2 or 3 webinars a week at $100 each. We could create a 12 or 15 session webinar series to educate people on iron and steel pipe, and sell that to a large consulting engineering firm that's hiring 200 or 300 engineers a year from across the country. Let them incorporate that into their training program, and we can create a revenue stream from this. And all of that's kind of new to us, so we'd love some fresh eyes and perspectives on something like that. We're thinking our first one might be in February, but it'll kind of be a pilot program for a little while. So somebody that came to us next summer or even in January would have an opportunity, I think, to make an impact on that team. In addition to that, we've got inside sales people. They do project management, scheduling projects, working with vendors, working with contractors, working with our manufacturing people. A number of folks work in that area and have then transitioned into outside sales.
Wonderful, Maury. That gives me a little segue into our next question. And I'm curious about, what the typical hiring process looks like for your company and all of our other panelists. What do the students kind of have to go through during that hiring process? And if you could give us a clue on that.
I can start off. So for our SMDP program, well, and really for any program, whether it's an internship, a development program, or a direct hire position that we have, we start off with our program with a Pymetrics game. So if you haven't heard of Pymetrics, it's a way to measure your skills and competency in what we're looking for in a candidate. So it's a way to screen through all the candidates that apply or that show interest in our program. So that's how we at least start off with SMDP. For other positions, like some of the internships and direct hires, you may not have to do Pymetrics, but you'll start off with some sort of screening call or conversation with one of our recruiters. And then after that point, we have at least 2 other rounds of interviews. And then our final round is usually 2 panel interviews with role play scenarios in each. So you'll have to do some sort of sales role play or some sort of role play on knowledge of a product or knowledge of like fundamentals of what we portray to customers and clients. And so that time frame though is pretty quick. We try to get through our interview process in about a couple months. So for instance, if you were to apply now for the development program that we offer, you would hopefully go through all the rounds and expect an offer by like December before the end of the year. So for those of you that are going into senior year and looking for those early career opportunities or getting ready to graduate, you could have a job offer before you graduate at that point. Now, for those of you with internship programs, same thing. We want to try to get you that offer before the next semester so you can start with us right away in spring or in summer.
I'll go next. So at FedEx, it's pretty easy. If you go on to fedex.com/careers, there's a whole bunch of jobs listed. And for sales, you will get contacted by a recruiter first, and the recruiter will have a phone interview with you. And then if you make it past the initial phone interview, then you'll interview with the district sales manager. It's typically a panel of 2 to 3 district sales managers, and it's really, if you can get used, we'd still do the old school behavioral interview questions. So if you get familiar and good at that, that is what we still do at FedEx. I will give you a tip. It is behavioral. So we are looking for certain behaviors. So when you think about behaviors and what you want to display to a future employer, think about behaviors they're looking for is like examples of when you took initiative, examples when you collaborated with other departments, examples when you collaborated with peers, examples when you showed you communicate well, or sales skills. So they're looking for the behaviors around those types of things. So when you're thinking of your interview stories, think about putting your story together that exemplifies your behaviors in those areas. And then that's pretty much it. So you get the recruiter, you get the panel interview, and then you get an offer letter, and then you start your job. So it's pretty easy.
So my interview process was about 7 interviews total. So I had my first interview in the end of January, and I wasn't offered the job until the beginning of March. So it was a bit of a process. But basically you get with a few different, you start out with someone who oversees the account executives, and then you move into someone who's a manager and a couple different, they have a couple different managers who sit on a panel. There's an interview where you meet with whoever would be your manager of your team that you're applying for. Some interviews are a little bit more conversational, and some are a little bit more, like Andrea said, behavioral questions. So tell me about a time when. And ultimately, the last phone call then was with my manager, who is now oversees me. And it was just kind of like conversational. So I think that it's probably, looking to see how you can just speak in a setting like what you do every day, and then also, like I said, they do the questions. So tell me about a time when, and I think that ways to get good experience for those is just through internships. And I know, my first couple jobs that I had out of college as well were just really great ways to have good answers for those questions. But yeah, it was about a 7 interview process.
Our process at American Cast Iron Pipe would be similar. You'd start with an application, and it would be reviewed by Human Resources. You'd have a phone conversation with them. They may at that point administer an online screening process, or they may wait till after they talk with you. We'll have people on campus in October. Be happy to meet with you then. We can start the process in advance of that. And Sarah knows how to get in touch with us. And then you'd go over to what we call the hiring manager. That might be me if you're going to be an intern for marketing. That could be Scott Summers if you're going to be an intern for the project management group. I don't know if we've got manufacturing type students in this call or not, but we're looking at interns there as well. And some in the administrative business functions of the company too. And then you'd have a list of things that we'd want you to work on for the summer, like maybe, or for the term, like Salesforce or this e-learning team. Some of the things we're looking for: communication skills, both verbal and written, in particular, presentation skills. Presentations are a big part of our job, presenting to clients and customers. We look for hard work, for initiative. Don't wait to be told what to do. Come up with some of your own ideas, keep asking for more. And I hate to sound like an old guy, but we look for people to be well groomed. You need to have a professional presence about yourself. I cannot tell you how important that is.
Right. Very good. And I think one theme to kind of tie everything together is that every company is different. And it's really important for you as the student to take the time to go onto their websites. Companies have really built out a lot of amazing resources on their website. I've just noticed such a huge difference since COVID in terms of like the transparency that companies are putting out there for students to understand what the process looks like, how they're going to engage in different steps of the experience. And even some companies have the timeline listed. And so if you don't know what to do, or you don't know how to figure that information out, please contact Ashley and me. We can really help you kind of dig into the specific process with all these organizations. But a lot of times students don't even know that they can find the information, and they're surprised that a lot of organizations want you to know what the process is like. They want to make it easier on themselves and really streamline it for you. So keep that in mind. We did have a great question in the chat. So Courtney responded to Matinjo, but I do want to read it out loud in case any of the other panelists have something. And then I also want the students, while I'm reading this, start thinking about other questions that you might have. So he said, I want to work my way up to be marketing products in a commercial type way. Where would be a good place to start? I want to present and offer products to companies and public and reach the level of making Super Bowl commercials. So if anyone has anything to add to that, would be great. And then other students, start thinking about what you want to know.
So I'll start, and I'll answer that real briefly. And I apologize if you hear screaming in the background, because I have kids that are fighting right now. So the reality of working from home. So I would just get your foot in the door. You know, the biggest thing is if you have certain career goals and path that you want to get to, and you know, ultimately being that person that makes a Super Bowl commercial. Get your foot in the door with the company and network. Get people that will mentor you. Get people that buy into who you are and your body of work. And you've got to prove yourself. You know, you've got to put in the work. A lot of people come into a company and expect to be in this position right off the bat. You've got to start creating a name for yourself within a company. So don't be afraid to, you know, get on someone's calendar and talk about what you're doing to be successful in your current role, but then also ask for feedback on, you know, what different departments are doing, and start networking and building your brand. Your self-brand is very important. So be thinking about that when you're in interviews too. What is your brand? You as a person going into corporate America, what is your brand? What do you want it to be? And then continue to craft that and improve at every job that you have.
I'd like to speak to that part about having realistic expectations in my, that's the term I would apply to it. Everything you have done in life to this point has had a 2, 3, or 4-year lifespan. You're going from a college freshman to a senior in 4 years, maybe 5. You're going from a scrub on the B team to a starting varsity player. You're going from a pledge to a chapter officer. You're going from a tenderfoot to an eagle. All of that in a 2, 3, 4-year, I'll call it life cycle. You are about to step into a 40-year working career. And your expectations have got to be realistic and tempered. So keep that in mind and find a mentor there in the company you go to work for. And I apologize, I'm gonna have to stop and take a call here from my doctor.
Very good, thank you. I think we have another question would be sort of, how do you balance having multiple jobs at once? Do you encourage students to have a corporate job and maybe a side hustle where they're developing parallel skills? And how do your organizations kind of view that?
I know that in my role, they certainly encourage any projects that you can do to, work toward bettering yourself. If you're looking, I'm in the sales side. If I was looking toward the marketing side, they would encourage me to do projects with the marketing team. But as far as 2 jobs, I worked like 12 hours today, so I don't think I could do 2 full jobs. But certainly, once you get into a company like Johnson & Johnson, there's just so much opportunity, and you really are able to do your job and then kind of have little side projects that can better you for your next position.
I think that's a great.
At FedEx, we have growth and development hours. So like Marissa, if you have a full-time job, it's really hard to have a second job. But we do, within FedEx, we do have flexibility where if you are interested in other jobs, that you can work with your manager to have time to maybe work on a project with another group or be involved in another team meeting. And we call it growth and learning. So we have opportunities like that. I know that there are people that work within FedEx that have side hustles. And as long as it's not, in conflict of interest or anything, you're welcome to do that. And as long as you can do your job and perform at a high level, no one's going to stop you from doing that.
Thank you. We actually have 2 questions for Marissa, kind of on the same lines. They're asking how you were able to get a job on the medical side of things, and were you always interested in pursuing that? And if you could just give us a little bit of background about what they look for and how you found your position.
Yeah, absolutely. So I graduated from West Virginia. I went in my freshman year of biology major, and I quickly realized that I didn't really know what I wanted to do with a biology degree. I just knew I was interested in the concept. But once it kind of got to the time of, all right, what am I going to do with this? Moving into my sophomore year, I didn't know. So I kind of took a step back, took some gen eds, and then got into the business college. I ended up graduating with a marketing degree. To put it into perspective, on my team right now, some of my coworkers, I have one who went to school to be an art teacher, one who went to school to be a doctor and then graduated with a bio undergrad and decided she didn't want to go to med school. I'm marketing, so really, your background in college doesn't matter so much, but once you get out of college, definitely the roles that you take will kind of set you up for that. So I took a job right out of college at ADP, which was a sales role. It was cold calls. And so I learned how to hear no pretty quickly, making cold calls. So that's where I got my sales background. And then I took a job with UPMC Health Plan, and that was on the hospital side. So I wasn't selling anymore, but I was client facing and working in hospitals with people who were contracted with our health plan. So I kind of mixed my sales experience with some healthcare experience, and then was finally able to get into the device world. But it's not like I came right out into medical device sales. But as far as your undergrad degree goes, they teach you everything that you need to know once you get out of out of your interview process and into your training. I did 2 months of training in class and then 2 weeks of training in the field. So they teach you what you need to know, but you do need to have certain skills, I would say, that I think a business degree really gave me. So I think that I'm really glad I have the marketing background that I do, but not required.
Thank you so much. Our next kind of question that we have is, what was the biggest challenge you faced in industry, and how did you overcome this challenge?
That could be for anybody, anyone who feels like their career path was or wasn't very linear after leaving school.
So I'll start from a Stanley Black & Decker perspective, but like I mentioned before, I joined the sales and marketing development program. My major in college was marketing, so it made sense to go into a sales and marketing development program. What was really difficult for me in that program was not having a power tools background. If you're familiar with some of the brands that Stanley Black & Decker owns, DeWalt, Craftsman, Stanley, of course, and Black & Decker, Porter Cable, all of that power tools knowledge, I definitely did not have going into this position. However, it was something that the company offers tons and tons of training and support to make you feel confident and comfortable answering all those questions. So one of the biggest learning curves for me was learning all of that product knowledge at the beginning, but having some of that sales experience and being active while I was in college, from joining different clubs and organizations and even doing those mock interviews, helped me from the beginning. But the continuous learning right after graduation was definitely one of the biggest challenges at first. But definitely helps now in my current role with marketing, the products in general, and is understanding that solid product knowledge and having that good foundation definitely carried with me throughout my career now.
I know I just kind of talked about how I started with ADP and then was with UPMC Health Plan. So definitely didn't have a linear situation. Like I said, started in sales and then was not in sales, and now I'm back in sales. But everything was kind of setting me up for where I am now, but certainly wasn't linear. As far as my biggest challenge, similar to Maria, you have the skills, but you don't necessarily know the product yet. So it's super intimidating when you come out, and hers was power tools, mine look like power tools, except they're used in surgery. And so I definitely, it was intimidating at first, but they give you everything that you need in your training, and you certainly go out feeling prepared. It just seems to be a lot at first. And I also was afraid that I was going to pass out, but I will say, even if you're squeamish, I was, and I made it just fine. So don't let that deter you.
Sarah, do I understand the question to be, what are some obstacles that you might have encountered along the way, and describe maybe your career path?
Yes. Yep.
Okay. Well, when I graduated college, I was 23 years old and I looked about 15. And after 6 months of product training at headquarters, they sent me to New York City. I had grown up in small town Alabama, and they sent me to New York City to sell cast iron pipe. And I didn't know if I'd made somebody angry or what the deal was. I've since learned We don't do that to people because we're mad at them. We do that to people because we think that there's something they can learn from it and develop from. So it caused me to grow up quickly, to develop a thicker skin, to push a little harder. You're going to find yourself in situations where you have to be assertive, not aggressive, but assertive. And you got to move with confidence beyond your comfort zone. You got to knock on that door to the person who won't take your phone call. You got to make that 5th phone call, because studies show that it takes 6 attempts to see a lot of people. You got to be enthusiastic about your product, confident in it, and professionally assertive. So I did that in New York. We had an opening in Florida. I was relocatable. Guy resigned in Florida on a Monday. I was in Florida that next Sunday evening on the ground, learning that new territory 6 days later. So you got to be adaptable, flexible, willing to relocate. 5 years later, busy market in Florida. What I'd learned in New York really helped me hit my stride. So I got promoted at age 29 to be our West Coast district manager. I went to Sacramento, just like New York. I didn't know a soul. And I was the, which one of these does not belong in the picture? I talked funny. I was very young for my role. And I was flying from Alaska to Southern California, calling on people twice my age, and you just got to get over it and put yourself out there. In a professional manner. Don't come across cocky.
Those were great. I don't want to cut people off, but I want to see if students have any other questions. You guys are doing a great job of populating the chat here. All right, students have any other questions? We have a couple others for the group here. So I would say one of the questions that students frequently tell us they struggle with in the interview process is, tell me about yourself. They don't know what to say. And I think this is apropos because many of them are going to be connecting with you all at the career fair next week. For a few of the organizations will be at the in-person career fair next week. And so how would you suggest that they either approach with a career fair and kind of summarize their experiences in a way that stands out to you? Or how would you recommend that they answer the question, tell me about yourself?
Oh, I will go first on this because I have been dealing with a lot of virtual career fairs lately. And so I have 2 things. In a virtual career fair, plenty of times you sign up ahead of time. So we already had a glance at least your name and maybe your major and what year you're graduating. So we get some basic information. And so I do find it a little humorous when I ask someone, tell me about yourself. And they start off with, well, my name is so-and-so. And I already know that. So I would say at least cut that introductory part out and maybe start off with, well, I'm a junior or I'm a sophomore planning to major in this, or I'm a senior majoring in this, and I've already interned in these areas, but here's where my interests are. Because what I'm really getting at is, tell me about yourself and why you're interested in my company, or why do you want me to consider you? So that's more of what I'm really asking when I say, tell me about yourself. And so I have found myself now just literally asking, tell me about yourself and why you're interested in this, because that's more of what I want to know. So that's in a virtual and in-person session. In an in-person session, though, specifically, you can introduce yourself and say, my name is so-and-so, because I may not have interacted with you previously, but try to get more at like where your interests are. And if you're not really sure about the company, you can say, I just wanted to learn more about your company and what you may have that aligns with my goals. And then that will spark more conversation where I can say, oh, well, what are your goals? What are your interests? And then we can kind of find some similarities there. So don't be afraid to kind of leave me wondering, because that will at least keep a conversation going. You don't want to outpour everything and tell me your whole life story, but just enough to at least get the conversation going.
I'll add to that real quick. Yeah, when we ask that question in an interview, that's pretty much the time for you to go over your resume, kind of highlight, you know, why you're interested in the job, why you're there for the interview, and then talk about some of your successes you've had, whether it's been a project you worked on in school or an internship that you've had or a job that you've had, even if it's, say you waitress, you know, throughout college, you know, you get skills, people skills, communication skills, teamwork skills through a job like that. So that's your opportunity to kind of take a moment and walk through some of those jobs and what skill sets you took out of them. So that's what we're looking for when we say, tell us about yourself.
That's a great point. One of our best regional managers is a Purdue graduate and was a bartender in college. Worked his way through college, supported himself financially, tending bar. He's one of our best sales managers because he knows how to talk to people. And while you need to answer that question, tell me about yourself, the primary point in Dale Carnegie's How to Win Friends and Influence People, and I recommend that book, is that people like to talk about themselves. So ask them questions. What are you interested in? Why do you work for this company? What do you find motivating and fulfilling in your job? Tell me about your career path. Don't avoid answering questions asked of you, but always ask a question back. And you better know something about the company you're talking to.
Yes. Do your research, exactly. All right. Well, we are almost at time here, so we like to do a little lightning round at the end for all of the panelists. But really quickly, I've had some students do a private message me in the chat, just wanting to know if they are interested in connecting with you, what's the best way to get in contact with you. So if you are interested, you could either drop your email or your LinkedIn URL in the chat. If not, that's totally fine. But I did want to bring that up, that a number of students have mentioned that they are interested in connecting with you following this conversation. All right. So what we like to end with all of our pathway panels is for to go around the Zoom room, and if you had 1 to 2 key pieces of advice or things that students need to do now to make sure that they are ready to start applying for internships or full-time jobs, what would it be? So we'll start with Andrea because I see her first.
1 or 2 things that you can start doing now. Get your resume together, have someone look at it, maybe have a couple different versions of it depending on what you want to do and what career path you want to take. And then, you know, networking is a big deal. I would network. You know, LinkedIn is a huge resource. If there is a company that you want to work for, go on LinkedIn, find some people that work there and just start asking people to help you get connected. And that is a big deal because, like I said, your brand matters. And if you start building that brand through your network, your chances of getting hired are going to be greater. And you're going to have people that are going to help you get through that interview process. And then when you get on board, they're going to help you get onboarded and be successful in your career. So that would be my advice right now.
All right, great. Clayton?
Yeah, I think this one is kind of off the wall, but I think identifying like what the values you find like resonating in a company. You know, for me, it's Stanley Black & Decker, seeing like a company that empowers people, right? We have a resource through the company where you can like rent tools to do weekend projects and stuff like that. And seeing that kind of stuff, like being able to empower people, for me really has been the key like vision, I guess, what Stanley Black and Decker kind of provides to people. And that's been like very lifting for me, especially when I'm up early for work.
All right, Courtney.
My biggest advice, and I'll put it in the chat too, is to use the STAR method when you're answering questions about yourself. And that could be in an interview setting or just in general, like conversation at a fair. And so the STAR method, if you're not familiar, it's situation, task, action, and result. So you want to make sure you have, I would say, give yourself like 3 to 5 examples that you can just pull up instantly in your mind. So you want to have these not necessarily rehearsed because you don't want to come across as fake, but have it where it comes naturally to you, that you can talk about a situation that you encountered, what was the task that needed to be completed or the challenge that was presented to you, explain what you did and what was the result. The reason I give that advice is because it helps you avoid talking for like 5 minutes while you're thinking about an answer to the question and then you're just dodging it really, or talking around, beating around the bush with it. So you have that right away to answer the question. It's concise, it's clear, and it gets to the point of what the interviewer is asking.
Great, Marissa.
My biggest advice would be that you can do now. So if you're going to get a job, I would say make sure you have some internship experience. I always got internships between every summer in college. You have to think everyone that's applying for that job has an undergraduate degree. So how can you set yourself apart with some work experience? So an internship is a really great way to do that. And even while you're at it, I know for me, I moved a few different places with my internship. So I thought I wanted to go to Manhattan out of college. I did a 3-month internship for a summer and realized that's not where I wanted to go. So it's a good way to do that too. If you're a little bit younger and you're not quite ready to get out into the workforce yet, definitely getting involved in some clubs. I know I did the American Marketing Association and eventually became the president of that. If you're going to be at the meetings, you might as well, be on the board. Again, you're one of many college sophomores or juniors applying for this internship. So how can you set yourself apart with a little bit of, edge? So joining clubs, being on the board of your clubs, and definitely getting internships. I think that's what really set me apart.
Awesome. Mari?
Well, everything that's been mentioned has been spot on. We also use the STAR method. I bet you could Google sample STAR interview questions and get a lot of them. And it would be worth your while to do that and have some thoughts in mind. Responses to that would be applicable to a number of interview methods that companies may offer. The idea of being involved in leadership in various organizations is important. And I would suggest it's better to be a leader in 1 or 2 groups than to be a member in a dozen groups. Now, 1 or 2 versus a dozen might be an exaggeration, but better to be deeper and stronger in fewer organizations than just be a name on the roll of a lot of organizations. And don't hesitate to talk about the impact that you have made in those organizations. And as you become older in school, become a mentor to another student in one of those organizations and use that as an example in your interview process, how you help someone else find their way.
Awesome. Bring it home, Maria.
And it's kind of already been said, but mine was just going to be get involved, whether it's something from a professional standpoint, like the American Marketing Association or another business organization that's specific to kind of what you want to go into. I think that shows initiative and drive that you're interested in that particular subject. But then in addition to that, do something that's fun that kind of aligns with what your hobbies are outside of the professional world. I know mine was I think it was the WVU Adventure Club, and I talked about that in multiple interviews, and it just helps add to your personality and makes you stand out from some of the others. So those would be my 2 suggestions.
All right, well, we're right at time here. Thank you all so much for sharing your insights and wisdom with the group tonight. Students, I saw all the information about the contact in the chat, but we'll go ahead and capture that and be able to send it out to any students that are interested in that afterwards. And again, thanks to our panel. Many of them will be at the career fair next week or participating in virtual events throughout the semester. So get on their websites, do your research, start figuring out what roles you want to apply to, and then see Ashley and me before you send them your resume so we can help you shape it up. All right, well, have a great evening, everybody. Thanks again.